Hello again everybody and welcome back to the channel. Make sure you click subscribe while you're here, and if you enjoyed today's video give it a like as well. Today this is the second ever time I'm going to be flying the PMDG DC6, and I'm trying to learn it all in very small bite-sized chunks. So in the main most of it's going to be done with the artificial flight engineer, all of the stuff that I'm not yet able to get my head around. But today we are at Arlanda, and we're going to be heading up to Vaasa. So crossing out of Sweden up to Finland over the Bothnian Sea, and I've configured a route that flies basically between 3 different VORs. So I'm going to be tracking the VOR needles during the route today and cruising at 13,000 foot for around about an hour's time, whilst I try and get to grips ever so slowly with this fantastic PMDG aircraft for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Those of you who have got it already, I really hope you're enjoying it, and if any of you guys know how to create a livery for one of these, then please do let me know, because I'd love to get a retro style British AvGeek livery for the Douglas DC-6. So we head into the aircraft, and I've connected to ground power effectively using the really handy tablet. Cool little tip: if you want to empty a tank or fill a tank, we use one of these for example, you can either click the up and down arrows there, or if you go to the top of the box and click up, it completely fills the tank, and if you click down, it completely empties the tank. Onto the ramp manager, we've got the tow bar and tractor set ready to go for our pushback, and we've got rid of our wheel chocks, pitot covers and everything else. We're on the ground power unit, and we're going to get rid of the stairs. I'm going to close that main cabin door. There we go. Oh, I love how the handle moved then as well. My first challenge is going to be starting the engines, and that is what I've decided I want to do first as my first little object to learn. And I've watched the PMDG tutorials around about 10-15 times now, so I'm still watching them, still putting what I'm learning or trying to learn into practice. Get rid of the stairs. I love that animation. And the noises. And the door. Watch that handle. Love it. Absolutely fantastic. On the options menu, I've got realistic engine damage and realistic start selected because I want to learn the process of how to start these fantastic radial engines. Using all the pre-shipped keybinds, I'm trying to get my head around those as well. Gives us a really good view of the actual flight deck and all of the different areas around the aeroplane to try and learn as well. Seatbelt sign, no smoking. And we can pop the beacon on as well. In the radios then, I've got our first VOR tuned, and that's going to be the Hammer VOR, HAMMAR 112.6 in the nav display there. I'm not going to use the GPS system here, I want to do it old school, and ADF 383 is selected as well. I've got those turned up, and that's the ERnt NDB. Once we get airborne, this should hit, these should come alive, so we would get a bearing to the NDBs, and over time I want to learn how to do the gyro as well. And of course the gyro pilot is the autopilot. So back to the automatic artificial flight engineer, and I want to do the before start checklists.
Voice recorder. Tasted. Oil cooled. Before start checks complete.
Awesome. And we're going to position ourselves in a place where we can take off we can start up safely. This is the new Microsoft Flight Simulator's Stockholm Arlanda scenery, and it's really quite nice. We've got a bit of a wing walker following along as well. So, we've pushed back into a nice position into the cul-de-sac at Arlanda, and the before start checklists are done by the artificial flight engineer. And all I need to do now is similar to the tutorial from PMDG. I need to turn both magnetos on. Start the engine.
6, 9, 12.
Come on. Yes, there we go. That's my first ever radial start. That's exciting. So, what's next? Sounds fantastic. Engine 4 now is what we want next. So, using the pre-ship keybinds, it's control 5. Pop that on ready, and then 6 to go back to the overhead. Engine selector 4. Ignition number 4 to both. Main fuel booster pump on, and then repeat the process.
3, 6,
9,
9,
12.
12.
Primer. This is only the startup, but it's so rewarding just being able to put the tutorial into practice and actually get us started. It actually feels like a bit of an achievement in itself, so I'm really loving this. So that's all looking quite good, quite stable for us. Fuel pressures and everything all looking good as well. And oil pressures. Oil pressure on the left side's a little low. We'll continue through the process. Okay, so I've got them all on. I'm not sure if they're going to stay on. I've had a bit of an issue with engine 2, so spent the last 10 minutes just going through everything again, trying to make sure it all starts. I've got one fuel pressure light there. Oil pressure's looking a bit low. 1, 2, and 3. So we'll see how far we get, and hopefully I can fix some of the problems as we go. Again, yeah, it's a massive learning curve, and that's part of the challenge of this. So RPM's a little high. We'll bring that back a little bit as well. But yeah, we've got all 4 engines on and it's looking okay. What I'm now going to do is make use of the flight engineer. The after start checklist.
Off and off. Battery switch. Plane battery. Generators and inverters. Checked and on. Emergency lights. Armed. Ground power. Removed. After start checks complete.
Lovely. So, I'm hoping this is all going to be good and it's going to work out. So we're almost at the runway, and I'm going to do our before takeoff checks. And we're going to let the
Pumps on low.
flight engineer sort that.
Fuel selector and crossfeed. Main tanks and crossfeed off. Autopilot and carb heat. Off and cold. Hydraulic system. Down, forward, pressure and quantity checked. Okay.
That big wheel, by the way, guys, is the rudder trim.
Flaps set to 20. Windows and turbine.
This is my first attempt at a
Closed
full
and on.
flight with just POR.
Gas lock released. Free. Detonator. On. Mixture and cowl flaps. Bridge unlocked. Set. Transponder. On. Landing lights. Extended and on. Before takeoff checks complete.
So according to this, our gross weight, basically £80,000. If we look at the plaque right at the back, sea level's 200 foot, £80,000, V1 83, V2 101. There we go. And when we take off, I'm actually going to try and see if I can get the gyro, that gyro pilot working, that really old school version of an autopilot system. Here we go, my second ever takeoff in the PMDG DC6 Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I need to remind myself constantly, it's not an airliner. So I don't need to pull up, I need to let the aeroplane take off itself. It's dry runway, so I've set the RPM to 54-ish, which is, according to the tutorial, the red line is for the RPM for a dry takeoff. We're accelerating away. V1. We're in a bit of a crosswind today. I've got live weather on. Trying to hold V2. And interestingly enough, I've lost engine 1. Brilliant. I've only just taken off. So, I need some aileron trim. And I think I might try and get it started mid-air. If that's even a thing that's possible.
3, 6, 9, 12.
Turning against the aeroplane at the moment. got to 1,000 foot, I've cleaned the aeroplane up actually quite nicely, and it looks like engine 1 started. All those back down to lean. And I'm going to arm the autopilot system. So there was a button, he says, trying to fly the aeroplane as well at the same time. Button there, and then that's to arm. So if I let go, it should hold, roll and pitch, but it's not. It's going off, it's in its own direction, so let's turn. Got the blue light though, so it's working. And I've got the ADF needles and the VOR. There we go. Now, I haven't checked the tutorials for these, but I'm conscious these all say climb. I want to make sure they are set accordingly. I will work out how to do all of that in the future. As I learn the systems. But we're climbing away. I could probably get a bit more speed out of that perhaps. And we're climbing away out of Stockholm. Really exciting. My first proper flight in the DC-6. So 15 minutes, 34.6 nautical miles to go to get to that VOR. Whoops. That's a bit better. Now I'm just going to trim for the climb. So I want to fly it manually a little bit and learn how to do that myself. One thing I need to do is turn off the engine selector. I've already done that actually, so yeah, that's already done. I can't think what else we might need to do. We've got to get rid of the gust lock already as well. Just climbing away and enjoying the scenery down below if we can. And we're flying towards our VOR 1, which is the Hammer VOR. And we'll be flying directly over that. And then we need to tune our next VOR, which is Previk 113.2. Or we could go direct straight to Vaasa actually, 114.5. I've got 114.5 tuned in there, ready to go anyway. And you can see there we're heading to the VOR. We've come adrift slightly. 10 minutes. I've not covered descent or anything else. I've literally just wanted to learn engine start and try a nice simple flight, tracking a couple of VORs manually with the aeroplane. And over time, like I was saying to you guys in a video the other day, my intention will be to learn another system. Once I've mastered one small thing, I'm going to go and learn something else. So lots to learn, and I certainly don't want to rush through it. All the icing here on the eyebrow thing as well. To be honest, I've not yet checked these anyway to work out when I might need to use the de-icers. "5,000 feet is exciting. Probably go to standard pressure now as well. About there, 1013. How are we doing? We've come adrift from the VOR again. "22 miles to go to our next VOR. And I'm just having to learn to be a lot gentler on the controls. Those of you who saw my first flight video, you guys will know I was not great at takeoff. And my landing as well, actually, for that matter. I almost did a bit of a tail strike, so lots to be lots to be improved. And you know, I'm trying my best. We've got to start somewhere. At least the takeoff this time round was a lot better than the last. So we're about to pass. There we go, 2.4 nautical miles. Currently 118 knots. We've got less than a minute to go until we pass the Hammer VOR, and what we're going to do now is switch across to the next VOR, which is going to be all the way over in Finland. .4.5. Actually, there's a Previc 1132. So we'll see if she tunes. There we go, she does tune. Perfect. So it appears I've just lost engine 1 for all the fun and games. Let's have a quick look. Yep, there we go. We've lost engine 1. So I should feather that, but I'm actually going to try and start her up again, because I'm sure I must have clicked something wrong. So engine 1 control. And in my earnest, I can't seem to get this to work for the life of the gyro pilot to work for the life of me. Come on, girl. She doesn't want to. We're at 9,000 feet anyway. We're flying across the water directly to the next VOR. Gonna have to retrim for the engine failure. Try and take some of that pressure off. Me having to constantly add controls. Input. And retrim for the engine loss. That's sort of level. That's probably as level as we're going to get. I don't want to fly direct to that Previk VOR either. I want to go ever so slightly to the north of it because we're going to be then heading north from there anyway. The engine's failed, but what I've actually done is I've feathered the prop. So instead of the blades facing the aeroplane, facing into wind, I've actually feathered the prop so that it's more aerodynamic, and therefore it reduces drag along the that failed engine there. But we're committed because we're halfway across the water, so yeah, if we turn around and go back, we've got the same distance to get back to Sweden than we do for Finland, so we're going to continue towards that VOR on our merry way, 7,000 feet. All temperature's gone right down. We've got our work cut out. I've got 3 engines working, so that's all good. I've got 1 engine feathered, so again that's a plus sign. I might unfeather it in a second and try and start her up again, because we've got loads of fuel in the tanks. So I've been able to start the engine again, and I'm not quite sure how, but that's great because now we can continue our climb. And try and get everything sorted again. We go back up to our cruise altitude. Making some really good progress over the sea now. We've got all 4 engines back up and running. Had a little issue with the cylinder head temperature on engine 3 and 4 actually. So I think I've solved those problems, though I'm not 100% certain. I'm going to have to keep an eye on that. The biggest thing that I've actually realised with this aeroplane is the fact that it's so immersive, you don't really get much opportunity at all to look out of the flight deck and actually appreciate all the all the scenery, because the minute you take your eye off the aeroplane for whatever reason, it tries to kill you. But I finally got it trimmed nicely. I say that and then it's decided to rocket up instead. So I'm going to have to retrim again. Not quite sure what changed there. RPM on engine number 2 is pretty high. I'm not quite sure why. And the good thing is I can see land. 31 miles to go until that next VOR, so we need to tune the next one. 114.5, and we've got that ready. I don't want to go to this VOR, so I'm going to now start a left turn. I'm going to flick that across. According to live weather at Vaasa at the moment, we need to plan for a VOR runway 34 approach, so that's what we're going to be looking at doing. And we've almost got a straight in headwind for the approach, which is always nice. Aileron trim needs adjusting. Have I got those temperatures down yet? Yes, that's always good. I haven't stopped managing systems on the aeroplane, and bearing in mind I don't actually really know what I'm doing half the time. I've not done too badly, but I'm constantly changing the view, flicking switches, checking things. We've got 107 nautical miles to go, 28 minutes to go, and we're doing 233 knots. We need to bring that aileron trim across 2 notches to the right, perhaps. And he says he should be able to let go of the flight deck, the flight controls. Now what's going on with this, and why is this being a problem? Oil pressure's low, mixture's too lean. I'm going to pop it on auto rich for the time being, just to see what happens. That's cleared that. I'm going to put it back into auto lean. So we're tracking the single needle to the VOR station, and actually we've got nav towards as well, showing there on the OBS. Lovely. Let's do that properly, shall we? I'm just going to let the aeroplane settle, because I know I've got a bit of a rate of descent going on, but I have let the aeroplane climb somewhat. This must have been such a handful to actually fly in real life. Have a quick look at the EFVA charts, and it's basically telling us that we want an initial approach. It's not really going to give us waypoints, of course, but we've got a radial of Subug, radial of 199, and a heading of 019 degrees for 10 miles down to 2,300 feet. But we've got over 90 miles left to go. So we'll get a bit closer and then we'll think about descent. So we've started our descent into Vaasa, and we're still tracking our VOR, and we're flying directly up towards it. We're ever so slightly left of that because we want to try and intercept the radial of 216, which is going to be our entry point of our Subug, and I'm then going to try and fly a very brief 13-mile DME, 13 DME radial. I'm not sure how that's going to work out for us. I've gone ahead already and clicked descent, and the co-pilot, the artificial flight engineer, has begun our pre-flight, pre-descent checks, or our descent checks for us, and he's set our descent throttle. So we don't have to touch it, and indeed they've part of that is actually get a bit of a throttle lock. We are well into our descent now, and descending quite nicely as well. 9 minutes to go. As you can see, we're making our way in. Got all 4 engines working still, which is great. And I've actually learned a few little bits about the aeroplane as we've made our way across today for this little short journey. So one of the features that I've learnt about is cylinder head temperatures. If they go towards the amber, that yellow section, you can actually find, I'm going to abort this a second so I can control everything myself. In here you would see cylinder head temperatures go orange. Now we then need to deal with that by opening this one notch, for example. Well, I've gone ahead and just added it to 0 there as we descend. That is ultimately how you would manage that. 23.6 DME is when we should intercept Subug, roughly with that initial approach fix. So I'm going to come ever so slightly left. And at 26.3 DME, we should have a radial of 199, which is around about here. And then we're going to know the arrows pointing that direction. We can fly directly up to the airfield and then fly that slight radial. I could of course branch right and we could fly the radial of 171. I want to give it a go flying a little bit of a VOR radial for the first time ever. Biting off perhaps a little bit more than I can chew, but you guys know I love a challenge. I keep looking at these and they're all in the middle or in the green sections, which is of course good. But we've got all 4 engines running quite nicely and we're just gradually descending down. (7,000 feet). The latest METAR at EFVA is QNH 1013, winds 340 at 6 knots, all the 9s, overcast, 1,200 foot, 15 degrees Celsius. On live weather. We've got an airport elevation of 21 foot at Vaasa. Echo Foxtrot Victor Alpha if you guys want to fly this. We're actually working to intercept the radial now. We're at 13 DME. Watching the RPM and stuff as well. We're at 26 at the moment, so we've passed Subug. We want to be down to 2,300 foot. By 13 DME. By Nurga actually, so we're going to keep descending. We're almost at that radial of 199. You guys can see that there. Around about here actually, that's about 199, so now we're going to fly 019 degrees as we pass through the cloud. And I could go ahead and allow the flight engineer to do all the checks in range. So now we're flying directly back to the airfield on that radial of 199, which is, we've actually not done too badly there, look. 019 degrees ish. Okay, that's that in-range checks done as well. The flight engineer is actually controlling our throttle for us, interestingly enough. But if we, there's the airport, if we click abort, or don't want to set flaps 20 yet, because I'm in control of the aeroplane and we're actually flying too quick for flaps 20. want to give it a go myself, see. 14 miles. We're almost at 2,300 foot, so we're descending quite nicely. Might start just allowing ourselves to slow down a bit as well. (13 DME little radial now, so 13 miles. But it's actually an 11 DME arc. (2,800). Still allow ourselves to come down. 12 miles. Want an 11 DME arc until radio of 164. And then we're going to be turning in for a final approach. VOR for 2.4 starts at 2,300 feet, 11 DME, but at Nerga 1,720 by 5.3 DME. 11.4 DME on that, so we're flying a radial at the moment. I'm just letting the aeroplane start to decelerate as we slowly descend down to 2,300 feet. Where's the airport? It should be... assume that's it. Yep, there we go. Actually, should be over here. Can't see it yet. But we're at 11 miles. We're still flying a bit of a radial. Hope you guys are enjoying this video today. Make sure you hit like and subscribe if you are. Let's kill that rate of descent ever so slightly. We want to get back up to about 2,300. .1 DME, but now actually we're on that radial that I mentioned earlier, so I want to turn the aeroplane and we want to set a course of 333. Round about there. Still letting us descend slightly down to initial approach fix. Correction, 5.3 DME, 1,720. So 2,000 feet. I think that's flaps 20 that I've just set. We're in the white band, and that usually means that we're good for flaps. Oops, correction there. 9.3. I'm looking. Ah, there's the airport. I turned ever so slightly too close. Too tightly, I should say. There's our little course needle coming in. So I'm using the instruments. So I've noticed I didn't set it quite right. There we go. I've ever so slightly overshot. I set 333, 335. round about there, isn't it? There we go. Gear down. Love that animation. 1720, we weren't far off that actually. Drifting ever so slightly. Keep checking my engines in case one fails again. Paranoid about that. Before landing checklist. We've done that.
Set. Mixtures rich, please. Auto rich. Mixtures set. Gear up and down, please. Gear up and down.
We've done that. 2 miles, we want to be at 670 feet.
Props. 2400 RPM. 2400 RPM set. Cow flaps. +3 degrees. Cow flaps set. ADI off. ADI is off. Landing lights. Speed good. Extending lights. Lights extended and on. Carbine. Carbine cold.
We've already done those.
Before landing checks complete.
Good. So I'm now going to click abort so that we've got full control of the aeroplane. None of those are locked. That's the throttle lock there. And of course I've just done that at the wrong time. Bit of power because we are slightly low. There we go. Back on the profile, 2 red, 2 white. I'm looking at the pappies now more than anything else. I'm not looking at the instruments any longer. What a fantastic aeroplane. PMDG have done such an incredible job. Slightly high, probably a bit quick as well. Do little bounce, and I need to flick the latch, apply some reverse thrust, reverse prop. And for a replay of the landing today, much better than my first look video, of course. So that's clicked back in place. What we could do actually, how far have we gone away from that taxiway? We could use the reverse thrust to reverse. So into idle and bring the RPM up slightly. There we go. Reversing back on the runway, it's probably a lot quicker than turning around in this. While we do that, we'll look at the external flap animation as well. As we retract those after landing. we go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to let the artificial flight engineer deal with after landing checks. You know, clicking everything. So today I've navigated from Stockholm Arlanda all the way to Vaasa in Finland. So Echo Sierra Sierra Alpha to Echo Foxtrot Victor Alpha for the ICAO codes, using purely VOR navigation. It's not my best, smoothest flight. This is my second ever flight in the DC6. I highly recommend you guys check out those PMDG tutorials on their YouTube channel, because that's what I've really been sort of focusing on and learning with over the last sort of couple of days. I've watched them plenty of times on loop actually, to be honest, and they've been extremely useful. For me, starting the engines, that's the first thing that I've really tried to focus on learning, and I feel like I've accomplished that fairly well. And I feel like I've managed to fly across using VOR navigation from one airport to the next without any problems at all, which I'm really chuffed about. I'm going to park up and I'm going to work through trying to shut her down. Vaasa Airport from the Scandinavian World Update, of course. Sobo handmade. There we go. So I would imagine all we need to do, we've got the throttles on idle. I'd imagine we just need to cut off the engines. There we go. Love that. Pop the ignitions off as well. We go to the ramp manager and we can open the cabin stairs and the cargo holds. And we can do the front cabin exit as well. We can open that up. And we can deploy the front cabin stairs. So there we go. We've flown from Stockholm Arlanda to Vaasa in Finland using the PMDG DC6 for Microsoft Flight Simulator. If you want the route, I'll pop it in the description for today's video. If you've not already got your hands on the aeroplane, then you can head to pmdg.com and you can find it there in the MSFS section of the store. Be sure to let me know what you think in the comments below as well. Make sure you hit like and subscribe as well too. Check out all of my other videos, including my very first look at the PMDG DC6. Hopefully you guys will have noticed that my takeoff and landing for this second attempt was vastly improved. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope to see you all in a live stream in the very near future. Take care.